Just minutes ago, the Commissioner of Boxing, Dean Lohaus, reported to us that an illegal pad was found in Margarito's gloves.
When I checked the pad, it felt hard. So then the commissioner felt that, he said that feels pretty hard.
Before the largest crowd in the history of Staples Center, you see the 7-year age advantage for Margarito. A height advantage of 2 inches for the Mexican fighter, the Tijuana Tornado, but contradictorily.
Okay, gentlemen, I give you instructions downstairs. Decirles instrucciones en el vestidor. Golpes here, punches here, fine. Shake hands, good luck to both of you. Buena suerte a los dos.
It's not in the gloves themselves, but in the weight of his hands as well.
Yes, and it has been reported by some who saw it that that substance, which was illegal within the hand wrap of Margarito, number 2. Excuse me, Larry.
Well, the most important punches that Mosley has thrown have been 2 body shots, because but they're watching 2 irresistible forces and 2 immovable objects.
Really a super fast fighter, but in every area he's good. Not superior at any of them, but just good.
And then goes back to throwing his long jab, and Mosley counters over it with a perfect right hand. Which so far has been the case. Good left hook by Margarito.
He lands his punches as he grabs and ties up Margarito, because Margarito is always going to keep coming forward. So you can't land a punch and just try to dance away, because he'll pressure you.
Because he's much more on the defensive than on the offensive. I mean, what a fight. Tremendous right hand. And when I say what a fight by Mosley. And a second straight flush right hand.
The guy who doesn't fall apart.
And who is still effectively controlling the pace of the fight.
Yep, and when he wants to throw that right hand, he knows he can throw it, and a head is going to be there at the end of it. Tempo he fights at, and he knows that's his strength. He basically does everything good, not exception, but the pressure that he puts on the fighter.
Well, he believes that to take a backward...
Hard right hand by Mosley.
Killer.
It's still not a whirlwind. It's no tornado in there, although Margarito lands a good right hand, and then Mosley follows with a sharp right hand of his own. Margarito's comeback was for naught. He thought he had won, but the judges had it for Williams. Mosley holding him here and there, trying to slow the action.
Yeah, Margarito hasn't been able to land any real clean, crisp punches. He's been just physically getting closer and closer and mauling him, but the clean, effective punches...
Being tricked out of it by brilliant strategy on the part of Shane Mosley, who is changing from round to round, making little adjustments here and there, and still controlling the fight. The more eye-catching offense, and you saw that Harold Letterman's card has Mosley winning every round.
Mosley's had Margarito almost at will with right hands. I mean...
The look on Antonio Margarito's face seems to be continuing in Staples Center. Antonio Margarito, a 4-to-1 betting favorite, is nowhere in the fight so far. He is Nassim Richardson after this. I mean, first Richardson guides Hopkins to the annihilation of Pavlik, and then this, which would be one of the biggest upsets in the sport in recent years.
Probably in match didn't win it, but he probably would get it on the scorecards because it was better than what he did before.
Another flush right hand for Mosley.
A head is going to be there at the end of it.
Crowd is trying to urge Margarito back into the fight. They like the right hand he landed there as he enters the ring against Mosley.
But that's the only thing that I consider serious in terms of illegal hand wrapping is having plaster Paris.
He has 4 knockouts in the 10th, 11th, and 12th rounds.
Partially blocked that right hand by Mosley.
He's becoming a little bit more aggressive with his feet. They're putting a lot of pressure and forcing Shane to throw more punches in that fight at a faster pace than he probably would like.
And the early returns would seem to indicate Mosley and Nassim Richardson is a team that should have happened a while ago. Margarito lands a good right hand, and then Mosley follows with a sharp right hand of his own. And Margarito says, all right, we're going to fight. I love it. Now let's begin to trade, because this is my fight. The light momentarily went back.
You're waiting too long. You're waiting too much. Come on, you've got to attack.
Your combination, Shane, nobody in this division hands as fast as yours. Run them combinations, knock the grease off this dude.
Clean, effective punches. The head slapper punches are all coming from Shane Mosley.
Hey, but that was the case in Las Vegas last July, too. Huge right hand by Mosley.
The ropes, you saw Mosley bounce back into the middle of the ring, not wanting to give Margarito a chance to build up any momentum.
That's what Cotto didn't do last Sunday.
Champion type fighter to be getting with that many right hands. He seems he has no defense except to just hit it and try to just get hit and try to just punch after he gets hit.
And if you recall in the Cotto fight, even though Cotto was winning the early rounds, Margarito was doing some damage. Blood from the mouth of Margarito after that left hook.
In Las Vegas last July.
Yeah, I'm saying the look on his corner's face also.
There's no arrogance here tonight.
No, they realize they're in trouble.
Margarito is trying to break your hands with his jaw.
Larry, is exactly what I was thinking about. But one thing that Margarito cannot afford to do is get too far behind. And if he gets behind after 5 or 6 rounds,
I believe that Shane's going to still have to win another round
Margarito
or two.
was stunned by the right hand.
entirely different fight. I mean, you can see the momentum was going with Margarito, but this fight here, the momentum at this point is getting stronger. If anyone will get stopped, it may be Margarito, just from this all of the
fight is being fought at Shane Mosley's pace. Margarito not yet able to force Mosley up to a 70 or 80 punch per round pace.
You can punch there. I punch it a golpes.
You're right, Larry. He's very, very ineffective in his fight as compared to the fight with Cotto.
Well, you know, I believe both of you made the point before the fight.
No, they realize they're in trouble right here because Shane Mosley doesn't fall apart going down the stretch. And Shane is still landing crisp, clean punches.
Excellent choices. I don't think Shane Mosley's made a mistake. Oh, my gosh.
And you know something else I've always said that Shane didn't have that he's impressed with.
Such as the second half of the Cotto fight, it wasn't unusual to see him throw more than 100 punches in the round.
And at one time was a weightlifter when he was in high school.
He may also be trying to take advantage of the fact that Margarito's a notoriously slow starter, who, for instance, in his loss to Paul Williams, Margarito lands his trademark uppercut.
But still, can you be able to do that for him around the 8th and 9th round? Because he takes a good punch. And most likely we'll be there for the 8th and 9th round.
At ringside last July 26, who walked around in awe and wonder after the fight saying, "That's the greatest chin I've ever seen," in reference to Margarito's ability to take.
Don't grab him, Shane. Don't grab him, baby.
But of course, it's still one thing to know what you can do and to be Shane Mosley and be able to do it.
The mask begins to look very forbidding for Antonio Margarito.
I agree, Jim. Margarito's on the verge of losing the championship now. I don't think he can come back as devastated.
And he hasn't been able to do that seriously.
Shows just a little burst of energy there. Taking punches, but that's always the case. Trying to get back into the fight by landing something hard.
But the thing, Shane can get hit and do it, and then he knows whenever he wants to, all he has to do is to land that fast right hand and put things right back on track again. And as serious as Margarito's behind now, and you're not a devastating one-punch puncher, which he isn't.
Margarito has not thrown since Shane landed that combination. Mosley has Margarito in trouble on the rope. Staggers him with that right hand. Good left hook by Mosley.
That was a knockdown. He went into the rope.
And there's the knockdown. And Margarito looks like a beaten man. Like a beaten man. Wobbling on his feet. The bell ends round 8, saving Antonio Margarito from a possible knockout.
When he's staggered, sure, they should send him out again.
There's no defense at all for punches.
This fight could be stopped any second now. Margarito is getting hit flush with every right hand. There's another one. There's a big left hook. Why not stop it now? And there's the right towel from the corner, and Shane Mosley has annihilated Antonio Margarito.
Can that man fight?
Let's go to Michael Buffer for the particulars on the shocking upset.
Ladies and gentlemen, the end comes at 43 seconds of round number 9. To the winner by knockout victory in one of the greatest performances of his Hall of Fame career, welterweight champion of the world, Sugar Shane Mosley.
Yo no sabía y no sé lo que tenía ese evento vendaje, pero pues lo importante es que ya estoy de regreso.
Margarito has been a boxing pariah since January 2009, when controversy erupted at his bout with Shane Mosley at the Staples Center in Los Angeles. The trouble began before the fight in Margarito's locker room, as trainer Javier Capetillo wrapped his boxer's hands while Mosley's trainer Nazim Richardson looked on.
Entonces a mí ya me habían vendado la primera mano, que estaba bien el vendaje. Después, pero desde que me empezó a vendar Capetillo surgieron los problemas del entrenador de Mosley, que no podía dar 2 vueltas en el mismo tape y que no podía dar, que nomás era una sola.
There was such a distraction about the tape on the wrist. You know, that could be the fake out. I'll show you this to give you something else. So I checked the pad, and when I checked the pad, it felt hard. So then the commissioner felt it. He said, that feels pretty hard. The commissioner flipped it open, and a block fell out of it.
We were all asking ourselves, what happened? What is it? Antonio kept asking me, what's going on, Sergio? What is that? I said, I don't know. It looks like another piece of gauze to me, but I don't know.
The hardened knuckle pads were deemed unsafe and confiscated for further examination. But the fight went on as scheduled.
We get in the ring and he kept asking me, is everything okay? What was that? So I knew Tony's mind was somewhere else now.
Mosley has Margarito in trouble on the ropes. Staggers him with that right hand. He's about one more right hand away from going down.
Capetillo quería parar un round antes de que parara la pelea y yo, como decimos los mexicanos, yo me muero en la raya y yo quería continuar. Fue cuando sucedió lo del knockout.
Margarito is getting hit flush with every right hand. There's another one. There's a big left hook. Why not stop it now? And Shane Mosley has annihilated Antonio Margarito.
Después de que se terminó la pelea y que se empezó a hablar de lo del vendaje, entonces yo todavía no creía qué tan grande estaba esto porque realmente no sabía qué es lo que estaba pasando.
Afterwards, Capetillo claimed he used the hardened pads to protect another fighter's hands in training. They had been mistakenly placed in Margarito's wraps on fight night without the boxer's knowledge.
Cuando yo hablé con Capetillo, pues solamente él me dijo que había sido un error. Le dije, pero pues qué tipo de error, porque dicen que hay yeso. Y dijo, no hay yeso. Dije, bueno, pues lo que digan que hay. Me dijo, fue un error mío, me dijo, y la verdad lo siento mucho, no pensé que llegara a todo esto. Y pues fue todo lo que él me dijo.
But the California State Athletic Commission found sulfur and calcium in the knuckle pads, ingredients that form plaster of Paris. As a result, the commission voted unanimously to suspend both boxer and trainer for a year, pending reinstatement.
Ya cuando pasó eso, entonces ya cuando estaba solo yo pues me hacía miles de preguntas, ¿no? Pero nunca sentí yo mal el vendaje, no sé. Será porque no golpeé. Tal vez si yo hubiera golpeado, pues yo iba a ser el primero que le iba a decir a Capetillo, siento mi vendaje mal, lo siento duro, no sé, pero no tuve la oportunidad ni de golpear nada.
He was really depressed about what happened. That's Antonio's life. And for that to be taken away from him was really difficult for him to handle.
Margarito sat out nearly 16 months before returning to the ring in Mexico with a new trainer, Robert Garcia. In August, he applied to have his license reinstated in California, but was denied. Then, when negotiations with Manny Pacquiao advanced, the state of Texas emerged as a likely host and licensed Margarito without a hearing.
Dije, es el momento de demostrar a la gente que no ocupo ningún tipo de argumentos para ganar mis peleas y para demostrarle a todo el mundo boxístico que puedo vencer y que estoy de vuelta.
In my opinion, did he know? 100% yes. You would definitely know.
Of course, you know, what do you think of us? Stupid? You know, like, oh, coach, put my handcuff in my hands. I'm going to close my eyes. Oh, like that, no? Right? It's common sense.
No mames, güey. No mames, te vamos.
Ponlo aquí, güey, aquí.
No mames, güey.
Vamos a
No voy a mirar, no voy a mirar. No mires, güey, no mires, güey, no mires, güey. No mires, güey, no mires, güey.
Let's bring in Teddy Atlas. Teddy, again, you know what you can and you can't do in there when you're putting the hands together for a fight. Give us your take on this whole situation.
Look, first of all, I hear him talking about that they had wet gauze. I don't know if you guys touched on that yet. But the only way, the only reasonable, you know, within the proper lines or close to the proper lines of explanation for any wet gauze would be maybe there was a hand problem and they took a sponge and they wet the sponge like you do in the gym, and the sponge becomes a lot more rubbery. Obviously, you know, where it can absorb more. You wet it and you put it underneath the gauze. Now, a sponge isn't allowed, so they would have removed that. That's the only thing I can think of as far as wetting the gauze, outside of getting into crazy conspiracy theories like plaster of Paris, you know, something like that, which you're going into a whole level of criminality now. And the other thing is, when they're talking about what wasn't allowed, you're not allowed, when you're wrapping the hands, you're not allowed to put tape on the skin directly. You know, not that it makes a big difference, but it's a rule. You cannot put tape directly on the skin. Also, when you're wrapping the knuckles, you can put gauze over the knuckles. There's a certain amount that's allowed. You can put it over, and most trainers, all trainers, like to pad it up. They like to make a pad. You hear them talk about a pad. Well, you take the gauze and you go back and forth, and you create your own little pad, obviously for protection on the knuckles, and you put it there, and then you bring tape over the pad, but you can't bring the tape over the knuckle area. That's not allowed. So, couple of probabilities or possibilities where maybe the tape was over the knuckles, maybe tape was directly on the skin, maybe a sponge was in there, they took it. But what I would love is for the California Commission, which has been under a lot of criticism throughout the years, for them to tell us, you know, take the mystery out of it. Tell us what you have in your possession.
Teddy, if they do find that there was something in there that basically loaded his hands, what should happen to Margarito? What should happen to his trainer?
Well, if they find something that loaded it in a way of being illegal, where it could have hurt the opposing fighter, in this case, obviously Mosley, they should immediately suspend both of them and then have a hearing to see where they go with that, depending on what exactly was put in there, and obviously how much of an advantage it would bring, or how dangerous, I'll be right to the point, how dangerous it could have been to the welfare of Mosley, and possibly taking their license away forever if that's what they found out, that it was at that level of being dangerous and possibly impacting the health of Mosley, along the lines of what happened, as you guys talked about, with Louis Resto and Panama Lewis and the Billy Collins. Turned out to be a tragedy where the hair was removed from the gloves in the dressing room.
Thank you for watching, and don't forget to subscribe.